Hi everyone, I'm myself Dr. Bharti, PG third year student from Department of Conservative Dentistry and Endodontics from PGI Rohtak. Now I'm going to explain a very interesting topic, that is why not endodontic surgery in routine dental practice. As when we are in UG and PG, we used to learn a lot about surgical endodontics. But when coming to routine clinical setup, why very few endodontists are following, why not all? What is making them not to follow this? There are few reasons what is letting them to do that. The first and foremost reason is to convince the patient. Many endodontists feel it is very difficult to convince the patient for endodontic surgery as it is a surgical procedure. Yes, it is a surgical procedure, but nowadays the patients are very easily going for the impaction and implant placement. Those two are also surgical procedures, and according to me, those are more invasive than this endodontic surgery because there we are drilling a healthy bone. But in case of endodontic surgery, whatever the bone is left is pathological, it is weak. So the pain and swelling in the post-surgical period after endodontic surgery is comparatively low when compared to the former two treatment options. It is the moral duty of the endodontist to make patient understand the importance of endodontic surgery as natural is natural. It can never replace anything. So, it is our duty as an endodontist to retain the tooth in its position as long as possible. And the second most important reason is unpredictable outcome. Earlier, we used to follow traditional endodontic techniques with which outcome is unpredictable. But now, with the advent of microsurgical instruments and bioactive materials, the success rate has been increased drastically. And one more doubt is not in all dental clinical setups the dental operating microscope will be available. Okay, without dental operating microscope, only by using these instruments and bioactive materials and even with using loops, we can get a very good results. And the other most important thing is cost. It might be costly option, the patient may not agree. It is not that costly. For the endodontic surgery, the major two important things are only just MTA we require and suture material. MTA, yes, it costs a little bit, that is 2400, that pro root MTA, but I have performed nearly 50 surgeries in my PG life and I've used only 5 packets of MTA. That is nearly, it is costing only 250 to 300 per patient. It is not that costly also. And the major important factor is fear of complication after endodontic surgery. Many dentists will feel that when they accidentally hit the bone, hit the nerves or any blood vessels, there will be profuse bleeding or paresthesia in the post surgical period. How to handle that? No need to worry, there are very good advancements in endo also where we can handle it with very ease. Yes, first and foremost thing what we need to know is we will learn so much, very advancements, what all the advancements in endo, but nothing we will imply the same in the clinical setup. So first we need to know what are available to be friendly used in the clinical practice, that we should know. Yes, there are many things like dynamic system and everything, whether routinely used in clinical practice, mostly in United States and all they are using. I don't think so in India, and particularly in routine dental setup no one can use that. Knowing is very important, but at the same time we should know about the techniques and devices what are recently available that can be used with very ease in our routine dental setup. That is the best is piezoelectric surgical device. It is not that costly. It will cost around 1.5 to 2 lakhs. You can use this in your routine dental setup. The major advantage of this is it is a recent and innovative technology. It will cut only hard tissue. It will not touch soft tissue. Even when it comes in contact with the bloods and nerves, it will not pierce that because it works at a frequency of 25 kilohertz, and for it to cut the soft tissue it should work at a frequency of 50 kilohertz. So even if it touch that accidentally, it will not injure any of the soft tissues. This is the very best part. So who are scared of doing a surgery, and this can be used in routinely in each and every step of endodontic surgery like bone tissue management, enucleation of cysts, root and resection, and root and preparation. There are various tips available which we can use them in all the step of endodontic surgery. And when to perform endodontic surgery? Yes, non-surgical treatment is the best option, but when there is no option like retreatment or even the retreatment is a failure, then surgery is only mandatory. Then It is our moral duty to go for surgery rather than advising the patient to go for extraction and implant placement. These are few of the indications where we need to go for a surgery, like lesion not healing non-surgically. There is a long post or irretrievable instrument and the patient is having symptoms where we cannot go for retreatment also. Non-negotiable ledges and canal blockages or transportation or hard cement material where retreatment is also a failure. Suspected vertical root fracture, and when a biopsy is indicated, surgery might be the first choice even if tooth can be treated non-surgically if the risks and cost of retreatment are considered excessive. And what type of cases we will routinely encounter in our clinical practice and how to handle them, what are the difficulties we might feel at each and every step, I am going to explain. These are few cases which I have performed in my PG. So I am going to explain at what step you might feel difficulty and how to manage them. And these are the three cases which we routinely encounter in your clinical practice. One is intact cortical plate with large periapical lesion which are not healing, and the other is apicomarginal defects, and the third one is through and through defects. See, this is a case with intact cortical plate. There is a GP extrusion, so the lesion is not healing. Patient is having pain. So we have planned for a surgery. The bone is intact. So where exactly to keep osteotomy site? There is a question. Yes, with the CBCT and all, it might be easy because we have a measuring tool and all, we can replicate the same on the patient, but that might not be available in routine clinical setup. Then what to do? Yes, we have an RVG. In that also we have a measuring tool. You just measure the length of the tooth, approximately it will come. So what you will do is after flap reflection, you just palpate the root so that you will get to know the direction where it is going. So you have already measured the length of the tooth, so we need to give a root end resection 3 mm short of the apex. So accordingly you estimate at which level there will be a 3 mm coronal to the apex. Just to make a groove with a burr and place a GP point, and the osteotomy site should be like nearly 4 mm, which should permit the easy movement of the retro tip, which is mostly 3 mm what we are being used. So the other point, you make a groove and place one more GP. Why we are placing GP? GP is a radiopaque material, so it will be replicated in the IOPA. So once taken IOPA and confirm whether we are going in a right direction. So these two are the GP markings. Yes, we are going in a correct direction. It is nearly 3 mm short of apex, so that we can proceed. So this I have performed with the piezoelectric device. The major advantage in this device is the tips are very thin, so we'll get a very precise cut. So I've made a window. So I've removed the window. This is the granulation tissue. I have removed the granulation tissue and I've performed the entire procedure like root end resection and retrofilling. The one more major advantage is we are getting this bone as a block. So when we want a faster healing, we can use this bone as an autologous bone graft also. That is one of the advantage of this device. This you can also perform with burr. And the second most case is this is a patient complaining of swelling. On IOPA, there is a very big radiolucency, and these are all our FPD, which are supported by the lateral incisor. And I've even performed a retreatment through the crown, but the lesion is not healing. The only left out option is either endodontic surgery or ask the patient to get this FPD removed, extraction of this tooth, and go for implant. It is not ethical as an endodontist to send the patient for removal of this FPD and go for an implant placement, because he might have spent so much for this FPD and removal of this and removal of this lateral incisor, and there is no tooth to support FPD also. He has to go for implant. So it is very unethical. It is the moral duty of an endodontist to preserve the tooth. So here I have attempted a surgery. I have made a hole on the bone, removed all the granulation tissue, retro, MTA and suturing, and the outcome is very good. This is a very big lesion and it is healing. And a cyst removal. Why not endodontist can remove a cyst? Why only oral surgeons? We also can remove. As I said, with piezoelectric surgery, it is very easy to remove the cyst in toto. While removing the cyst, the major doubt we are having is if the cyst will get perforated, or whether if we leave any remnants, are there any chances of recurrence. So that doubt will be cleared with this. This is a pre-op CBCT. The patient said that he got that tooth extracted 10 years back, but there is a swelling. So I have performed an RCT of this central incisor, but the lesion was not healing. Then I've planned for a surgery. I've reflected a flap. I've seen a cyst over here. So I've used a piezoelectric device. This device can be used with a similar principle how they will be used in the sinus lift. Mostly it is used in sinus lift procedures. The tips are like spoon shaped, so that will very easily separate the cyst lining from the underlying bony cavity, and we can get this cyst in toto. And this is the histopathological report which is showing the residual cyst. This is one more case which I have used this piezoelectric surgical device, and I got the cyst in toto, and the healing is also very good and with no cyst recurrence. This is the histopath report which is showing a periapical cyst. And the one more important case where we routinely encountered in a clinical setup is apicomarginal. These are very difficult cases because here there is an involvement of both endo and perio, and the treatment should focus at managing both. So why it is very difficult? Because here the root is denuded and there is no buccal cortical plate, so healing is very difficult. Even the lesion size is small, healing is very difficult in endoperio lesions, and we need to use the GTR must, because it will prevent the growth of the epithelium and allows the periodontal cells to re-establish and form the periodontium. So we need to use. And the one more difficult part in this apicomarginal defects are tooth will be very mobile. First, before planning a surgery, we need to evaluate the mobility. If it is very mobile, then plan for splinting before surgery, because while doing surgery, because we'll remove all the granulation tissue surrounding the tooth, so it may make the tooth more mobile. And there are cases where we have even performed that splinting at the time of surgery. That is very difficult. So better go for the splinting if it is mobile prior to the surgery. And one more good part in this is, after flap reflection, we can able to see the root and root apex very clearly. No need of bone cutting, and we don't have any confusion where to exactly place the osteotomy site. But we have to place the GTR, any type of membrane like collagen or amniotic, anything can be used. And this is the result after 12-month follow-up, very good healing. This is the pre-op CBCT and post-op CBCT. And if the lesion is very big, even small lesions, it is very difficult to get healed in the apicomarginal defects. If it is a big lesion, then it is better to use some adjuncts for faster healing. This is a case where there is an involvement of 3 tooth and it is a very big lesion, and after removal, see, there is a cyst also. We have removed that, and we thought that healing might not be that good, so better to use some adjuncts. So we have used all the three, like bone graft, PRF, as well as membrane. And we have taken the autograft because we know out of all graft, autograft is the best, because it has all the three properties of osteogenic, osteoinductive, and osteoconductive. So I have taken this graft from the symphysis. In the mandible, we can take from the symphysis, and maxilla we can take from the anterior nasal spine, and even from the edentulous areas we can take. But I have taken from here because no need of second surgical exposure. And we have placed the graft, we have placed the PRF, and we have used the collagen membrane, and the healing is very good. And the next type of defects what we encounter are the through and through defects. The main difficulty in treating these cases or these lesions are actually very big. And see, and this is a perforation of cortical buccal as well as palatal cortical plate in this. So this cyst is adhered to the attached gingiva, so it is very difficult to remove this. But nothing to worry, we can cut this with a normal BP blade. But the only important thing to consider is the direction. We need to put it downwards and go slightly so that it will not create any injury to the attached gingiva. So later there will not be any development of perforation, fenestration and all in the gingiva. So, and at times it may extend till the nasal floor, and it may erode the palatal bone, and only a palatal mucosa is left. If you do very excessively the surgery, it may perforate the nasal floor and it may perforate the palatal mucosa also. So we need to take a little bit care while excavating this. And we can even leave a thin layer of granulation tissue on the nasal mucosa, and wherever there is no bone on the palatal side, nothing, no harm. Even the latest literature is showing, even if we leave a granulation tissue, if we clean the root completely and seal it properly, the healing is very good. So the main important thing to consider is whatever is there like extra radicular biofilm or any granulation tissue surrounding the root should be cleaned properly, and the seal with any bioactive material should be very good. That only will affect the outcome. Even if we leave a little bit of granulation tissue, it will not affect the outcome. So in this type of cases, we can leave a thin layer of this tissue when it is extending the nasal mucosa or when the bone is not present on the palatal aspect. So this is a case how we can get to know it is a through and through. Even with IOPA we can get to know, see the density. There is a difference in the density. That means here the bone is there, here which is a very blank, that is radiolucent, here the bone is not there. That's how we'll get to know this is a through and through lesion. But after flap reflection, yes, the buccal thing is intact. So I've made an osteotomy. Here there is no bone on the palatal side. So I have left a thin layer so that it might not perform the palatal mucosa. So I have proceeded and the outcome is also very good. And the other most important thing is palatogingival groove. This I think no one will touch because it is like tooth in air. There is no bone. It is a type of apicomarginal, first thing, which is very difficult to heal. There will not be any bone on the buccal side as well as lingual side. It is like hanging in the air. So what to do in such type of cases? Will we advise an extraction? No. We should try till end to preserve the tooth even in the difficult cases. This case I have reflected. Yes, there is no bone on the buccal side. There is no bone on the lingual side. The main difficulty in treating these type of cases are reflection of the palatal mucosa. It is not that easy as we reflect the buccal mucosa. It is very thick and we should have so much of patience to reflect. And while reflecting, we should have full access till the root because this groove acts as a nidus for the bacteria. So this has to be cleaned properly till the end. So we should have an access till the apex. So in some cases we need to extend from canine to canine also. So when we get a clean access, then we need to clean this groove with an ultrasonics, and we can put any of the material, but bioactive materials are the best. In that too, I prefer biodentin because why not MTA? MTA setting time is long, so in the meantime it may flush out, it may not seal that groove. But biodentin, because we use a calcium chloride in the liquid, so which will accelerate the setting, and its setting time is only 10 to 12 minutes. We can use it, and the healing is also very good. So it is a type of apicomarginal. So GTR is must. So I have used a PRF as an agent and also as a collagen membrane to act as a GTR both on the buccal side as well as the palatal side, and have sutured. Even such type of bad prognosis case also healed so good. And the one most important thing is resurgery. Why can't we give a second chance? Yes, we can even perform the resurgery also. This is a patient. She said that she has undergone surgery 10 years back, but she is having a constant pain in this region. I've taken IOPA and I've seen that seal is not good. So I have done a retreatment. So I've planned for a surgery. After flap reflection, it is apicomarginal. So what I've done is I've checked under dental operating microscope. What I've found is a perforation over here. This might be a reason for non-healing also. So I have sealed this with the biodentin and I have done retro preparation, MTA, everything. So as I said, for apicomarginal defects, it is must to use the guided tissue regeneration. So I have used a collagen membrane, and the healing in this case is also very good. So there is nothing to prove. There is a lot of literature available, everything available, and what is important is how we have improved that and how we have used that in our clinical setup. That is the most important thing. So everyone have an illusion that endodontists are meant only for doing RCT, that even general dentists and prosthodontists or any other department people can do. No, we are different. We are not just endodontists, we are endodontic surgeons too. We have the capability of retaining the natural tooth in its position even in its worst case. That's how endo differs from other department. So be proud of an endodontist and flourish our field. Thank you. And I want to thank my HOD sir Sanjay Tiwari sir for making me to learn such a great art, and also Srikant sir for giving me this opportunity.